Hi everyone, today I want to tell you about my favorite literary character. Every book I've ever read, this character is my number one favorite character, and they have so many positive attributes that I actually aspire to be like this person. So, character is from the Hunger Games. So I know there's a lot of opinions about the Hunger Games, and that's okay. When I first got back into reading, I took a long break in high school and college. I didn't read that much. But when I got back into reading, one of the first books I read was The Hunger Games, and I was hooked, not only by the story, but by the characters. And one of those characters is Cinna. So there's going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, just throwing that out there. But I'm a high school teacher. What do I do on a daily basis? I interact with high school kids who feel like everything in their world, the world they've been dropped into, is against them. A lot of them. And so schoolwork, teachers, parents, responsibility, all this stuff, they feel like it's all against them, that they have nobody on their side. And sometimes they've got friends and things like that. Sometimes maybe they feel like their parents or their teachers are on their side, but a lot of them don't feel that. They don't have somebody that they can look at and say, this person cares about me. And so they feel alone in a world that is against them, looking for some stability, something to help them with the chaos. And so that's where I look at my job and I say it's my job to help these kids feel anchored in some way, to feel like somebody is for them and not against them. Somebody is here to make them successful, to build them up, to lift them up. And that is what Cinna does. Cinna comes into contact with a 16-year-old girl who the whole world is literally against her at that point, or at least it feels like it. And he's got his first big break. He's finally making clothes for tributes, and it is one of the biggest things biggest honors you can have in that field in that world of the Hunger Games. And so he's got his first big break, and he's a master of his craft. He's incredible at designing these outfits, but he could look at this as an opportunity to advance his career even further or to establish himself. But what does he do? He meets Katniss and he feels bad for her. He takes pity on her because he knows where she's coming from. He sees where she's coming from. Not himself, not what this all means for him. Maybe he does see those things, but we see nothing but compassion shared from him. And I just love that. He sympathizes with her, and then he sees her feeling not confident at all. She has no confidence in herself and her abilities. She doesn't feel like she belongs here. She thinks that she's going to die. And what does he do? He centers on the few things he knows about her that are positive, and he builds her up and he encourages her. And I just think that without Cinna, the Hunger Games plays out really differently, even though he's not a main character. Cinna gives her confidence. He gives her somebody to feel stable around. Even Peeta and Haymitch from her district, she doesn't trust them. She doesn't know to trust them. She doesn't feel like she can. Nobody in her life she feels like she can trust when she's there in the capital, except Cinna, because he always reminds her that he's doing everything he's doing to make her successful, and reminds her that he's on her side. And I love that. He builds her up. And he's only in the book for a few chapters, and he's in the second book for another few chapters, but he's not a huge character, and I love that about him. Cinna's not a main character. His job is to be a small part of the story that helps the main character gain confidence, feel stability, and then ultimately be successful. And I look at that and I say, that is the role I want. That's all I want. Every single day I interact with high school students, and I want them to feel anchored, to feel safe, to feel cared about, and for me to equip them in the best way possible for them to be successful. That's it. And so I love Cinna because he ends up giving his whole life for her cause. And maybe in the first book you might make the argument that he was advancing his career, but in the second book you see it's really clear that he's advancing Katniss's life at the expense of his own. And I love Suzanne Collins' portrayal of Cinna because she shows somebody who pours himself out for somebody else, who recognizes he's not the star of the show, but he's in contact with the person who is the star of the show, and he can help make them successful. And that's how I look at my life. I look at my life and I say, I have children of my own. I've got a wife. I've got these students that I interact with. And I'd love to think I'm important, but the truth is, at the end of the day, the best contribution I can make is to, in some small way, influence the lives of the people around me to make them better, make them more successful. And so that is why I love Cinna so much. That's why he's my favorite literary character. Thanks for joining me on this talk. I love sharing that stuff with you. Have a great day.